You believe you've come here for an answer, a secret map to a treasure everyone else is too blind to see. You clicked on this because you are convinced that wealth is an external code, a puzzle that, once solved, will finally grant you peace and an effortless life. This is the great illusion you cling to. The lie you whisper to yourself in the dark is that if you just move faster, learn the next trick, find the one perfect strategy, you'll finally be safe. And, more importantly, you'll finally be ahead of everyone else. But every time you pull the lever on that glittering machine in your mind, every time you apply a new secret and it fails, you feel that familiar stab of cold panic. And you know it. It's the chilling confirmation that despite all your frantic effort, you are in the exact same place you started. Only now you are more tired, more desperate, and another piece of you has been lost to the game. You think it's money you're chasing, but it's not. What you are truly desperate for is silence, the deafening internal noise of your own anxiety, the relentless hum of comparison that echoes with every post you scroll past, and the gnawing fear that you are a fraud about to be exposed. And so you run. Your mind has trapped you in an infinite race against ghosts, where every competitor is a polished, idealized version of someone you'll never meet. And every missed opportunity is another lash against your already fragile sense of self-worth. You have been taught that frantic action is progress. It's a lie. You confuse movement with advancement and noise with results, repeating the same empty cycle of the masses, desperately seeking outside the validation that can only be forged in the brutal quiet within. If this is hitting you right now, you already know what to do. Subscribe, comment, share. Not for me, but to remind yourself of what you are seeing here. You are not fighting the world. You are at war with yourself. You tell yourself it's about being smart, about finding leverage, about working smarter, not harder. This is the sophisticated lie your ego constructs to justify your frantic search for a shortcut. Every new secret you find, every unseen angle you discover, floods your system with a temporary, intoxicating relief, a chemical high that whispers, "This is the one." And for a moment, the noise stops. The fear recedes. You feel the thrill of the gambler who is certain the next pull of the lever will change everything, conveniently forgetting the mountain of losses behind you. Your mind actively erases the evidence of your past failures, painting each new scheme with the brilliant colors of inevitable success. But this isn't intelligence. It's a desperate ritual. You are not hunting for an answer. You are addicted to the hunt itself, because the high of the search is the only thing that distracts you from the terrifying silence of your own life. And when it fails, because it always fails, the mechanism shifts to protect you from the truth. It was the economy, the algorithm, the bad advice from someone else. It was never you. It was never your impatience, your greed, or your fundamental inability to sit with discomfort and build something real, slow, and painful. Your mind constructs an elaborate courtroom drama where you are always the victim, and the verdict is always an acquittal. This narrative allows you to return to the glittering machine, your hope artificially restored, ready to pull the lever again. You need this illusion of external blame because the alternative is unbearable. To admit that the enemy is inside the gates, that the saboteur is your own reflection. The noise of your constant striving is a carefully engineered defense against the one truth you cannot face. You are not losing a game against the world. You are losing a war against yourself. This is how the trap becomes permanent. You are no longer chasing wealth. You are fleeing from yourself. The frantic search for the simple way has become your identity, a full-time job of organized distraction designed to keep you from ever having to stand still. You fear stillness more than you fear failure, because in the quiet, the void speaks. It shows you the years you've wasted, the focus you've squandered, and the shallow foundation upon which your entire sense of self is built. And that is terrifying. So you run back to the noise, to the next promise, to the next shiny object that guarantees a painless arrival. The promise of a simple path isn't a map to a treasure. It is the very architecture of your prison, designed to keep you perpetually running down corridors that lead only to more corridors. You haven't been looking for a way out. You've been perfecting your escape from the person you are. You think them everywhere, a crowd running in place, their faces illuminated by the pale blue light of their screens. They share the articles, the 7-step plans, the 1-minute videos promising a life of effortless abundance. Their conversations are a frantic exchange of buzzwords: dropshipping, crypto, AI side hustle. Each one a tiny glittering key they believe will unlock a door that isn't there. They are all whispering the same secret, convinced they are the first to hear it. And you watch them. You scroll past their posts, you nod along in conversations, feeling a strange mix of pity and envy. You tell yourself you're different, that your search is more refined, more intelligent. But that's a lie.
You are breathing the same air, chasing the same ghost. Their noise is just a louder version of the frantic monologue inside your own head, a collective prayer to a God that has never answered. You are not an observer of their madness, you are just a quieter inmate in the same asylum. Listen to them at family gatherings, in cafes, their voices filled with a desperate, brittle excitement. They talk about the market as if it's a wild beast they are about to tame, about their new venture as if it's a guaranteed ticket out of the mundane. They don't speak of work, of patience, of the slow, grinding process of creation. They only speak of the outcome, the finish line, the moment the machine finally pays out. And you sit there, silent, judging them for their naivety. But feel that cold knot in your stomach. It's the fear, the terrifying possibility that one of these fools might actually stumble upon the shortcut you've been searching for with such discipline. And this is where it all falls apart. You mistake your fear of being left behind for a sign of your own ambition. You don't see that they are not your competition. They're your reflection in 1,000 broken mirrors. Their panic is your panic, just dressed in cheaper clothes. So you retreat into the night, into the perceived safety of your own private search. You tell yourself your late-night research, your meticulous analysis of charts and trends is what separates you from the mindless herd. They eye lottery tickets, you study market caps. They follow gurus, you follow analysts. You have built a sophisticated temple around the exact same empty ritual. The goal is identical: to find an external event that will save you from the terrifying silent work of building yourself. But your complex systems are just a more elaborate way to pull the same lever on the same machine. It is the gambler's delusion, polished with the veneer of intellect. And you know this. You feel it in the hollow moments after the temporary excitement fades, when you are left alone with the same gnawing void as before. You haven't escaped the crowd. You've just built a more elegant cage in a quieter corner of the same prison. The promise of the simplest way is the cruelest lie ever whispered into the human soul. It's not a path. It's a poison designed to paralyze you with hope. You believe you're optimizing for success, but you are actually perfecting the art of self-abandonment. With every shortcut you chase, every hack you consume, you carve another piece out of your own identity, replacing it with the frantic energy of the hunt. And this is the price. The constant search for an easy answer erodes your ability to tolerate the slow, painful, and necessary friction of real creation. You have become allergic to the very process that builds worth. Your mind is now a hollow chamber, filled only with the echoes of other people's victories and the deafening silence of your unstarted work. You are not building a future. You are just a curator of unread books and unwatched tutorials. The person you are meant to be is starving to death while you feed a fantasy. You are not chasing wealth. You are running from the quiet terror of your own potential. And the fuel for this fire is not ambition, it's shame. The raw, gut-wrenching shame of feeling invisible in a world that only rewards the spectacular. You tell yourself you want financial freedom, but what you desperately crave is the validation that comes from being ahead. And so you measure your life in gaps. The gap between your reality and their curated highlight reel. The gap between what you have and what they flaunt. This is your addiction. Your self-worth is no longer an internal state. It is a volatile stock price that plummets with every new success story you scroll past. You have become a ghost at a banquet, starving while you watch others feast, convinced their meal was stolen from your plate. Their joy becomes your poison. Their victory feels like your final defeat. And you know this. It's the bitter taste in your mouth when you force a smile for a friend's good news. You are not in a race for riches. You are in a war for relevance, and you are losing. So here is the secret you came for, the one hidden in plain sight. The simplest way to get rich does exist, but it has nothing to do with adding a new strategy, a new secret, or a new hustle. It is about subtraction, the brutal, terrifying, and liberating act of elimination. It is the quiet discipline of the stonemason striking the same stone day after day, not adding anything, but chipping away the excess until the masterpiece is revealed. The wealth was always there, buried under the noise of your desperation, your envy, and your fear. But you won't do it, because it means you have to stand still. It means you have to face the void you've been running from your entire life and listen to what it has to say. You are terrified of the person you would meet in that silence. That person is a stranger to you, and they are holding the key. The simplest way to get rich is to let the person who is desperately trying to get rich die. Imagine a room, sealed off from the sun, illuminated only by the cold, predatory glow of 6 flickering monitors. This is your battlefield. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat synchronized to the jagged peaks and valleys on the screen. You buy, you sell, you react.
There is no thought, only impulse, a desperate dance with ghosts of profit and loss. You believe you are a warrior, a tactician, engaged in a high-stakes war against an invisible enemy called the market. Every small win is a hit of pure adrenaline, a temporary silencing of the gnawing void inside, and every loss is a personal attack. Through the window, in the corner of your eye, you see an old man in a sunlit garden. He stands before a shapeless block of marble, a hammer and chisel in his hands. He seems irrelevant, ancient, a relic from a slower world you've proudly outrun. You are the one in motion, the one fighting the world, and you have never been more trapped. Months bleed into one another, a gray smear of anxiety and exhaustion. The lines on your screen have carved deeper lines into your face. You are broke, hollowed out, a ghost haunting the wreckage of your own ambition. The frantic energy has curdled into a thick, silent despair. And then, one morning, the machine finally breaks you. The noise is gone. There is only a profound, ringing silence in your head. And for the first time, you truly look out the window. The old stonemason is there, wiping his brow. But the formless rock is gone. In its place stands a sculpture of breathtaking power and grace, a figure that seems to have been waiting inside the stone all along. And you realize he was never adding anything. He wasn't building at all. His entire work, day after day, month after month, was the simple, patient, and deliberate act of removal. His genius was not in what he did, but in what he chose not to do. And in that instant, the floor of your world gives way. The echo of that old man's single, deliberate hammer strike is louder and more profound than a lifetime of your frantic clicking. You see it with sickening clarity. He was never fighting the stone. He was in conversation with it. He was listening for the shape that was already there. His wealth, the permanent and undeniable value he created from nothing, came not from frantic action, but from a brutal, disciplined process of elimination. He knew what to ignore. He knew what to cut away. And you, in your desperate search for the next thing to add, the next strategy, the next secret, the next frantic hope, have spent your life piling worthless rubble on top of your own masterpiece. You finally understand the simplest way, and the knowledge is unbearable. Your greatest enemy was never the market. It was your own desperate need for more. You carry this search inside you like a blueprint for a prison you are forced to build every single day. The simplest way is the architect's cruel joke. Every shortcut you chase, every secret you hoard, isn't a key to a treasure chest. It's another cold iron bar locking you further inside your own skull. The corridors of your mind are now endless, lined with shattered mirrors that reflect not your face, but the gleaming, distorted successes of everyone else. You run frantically from one reflection to the next, convinced the next one holds the map, the answer. But it's a lie. The sound of your own panicked breathing is the only real thing in this maze you've constructed. You believe you are searching for a simple way to fill a great empty vault at the center of your being. The terrible truth is that the vault was never empty. It was full of your own potential. And your frantic search has been the act of methodically emptying it, piece by piece, in exchange for nothing. The promise of a simple path is the lock on your cage, and you willingly turn the key on yourself every morning. It's a beautifully crafted illusion of control in a life that feels utterly out of your hands. You tell yourself this hunt is a strategy, a disciplined pursuit, but that's a lie. It's a ritual to manage an unbearable internal state. The simple way is a drug, and the brief, intoxicating high of a new possibility is the only thing that numbs the deep, aching failure of the last one. You are not an investor or an entrepreneur. You are an addict, and your substance is the fantasy of an effortless tomorrow. This cycle has hollowed you out, replacing your authentic desires with a desperate, generalized hunger for more. You have abandoned the person you were in favor of becoming a machine that only knows how to search, a ghost haunting a library of unread promises. The simplest way to get rich has become the most complex and agonizingly slow way to lose absolutely everything that matters. You came here for the simplest way to get rich, and here it is. The phrase itself is the trap. It is the glittering, hypnotic promise painted on the side of the machine you've been chained to, the one that has been feeding on your time, your focus, and your soul in exchange for cheap hits of hope. It was never a map to a treasure. It was the very sound the prison door makes when it locks behind you. You thought the problem was your strategy, your timing, your lack of a secret, but that's a lie. The problem is your hunger for the word simple. This hunger is what makes you weak, impatient, and easy to control. It is the engine of your own poverty, hollowing you out from the inside while you stare at the horizon, waiting for a ship that was never built. You have traded the infinite, silent richness of your own focused potential for the loud, frantic, and empty noise of the chase. You were already wealthy, and you gave it all away for a lottery ticket.
So from now on, whenever you hear that phrase, the simplest way to get rich, you won't hear a promise. You will hear a diagnosis of your own deepest fear. The fear of the slow, the difficult, the unglamorous work of building something real, starting with yourself. It was never about the money, and you know this. The money was just the perfect alibi, the noble-sounding excuse for your desperate flight from the quiet, terrifying responsibility of your own life. You didn't want to get rich, you wanted to be saved. Saved from the silence, saved from the mirror, saved from the patient, deliberate work of the stonemason chipping away at the stone. That is the final, brutal truth. The simplest way was never about finding a shortcut to the top of the mountain. It was about choosing not to spend your life running in circles at the bottom, wasn't it?